now. Do you think they're going to talk about with these record temperatures going on in the Northeast and all around the country that this is global warming coming back and we need to have a cap and trade, tax us for breathing situation?
Julio, I appreciate your call. That's a wide range of important questions, and I'm sure you could talk for an hour on each one, and so could I. But Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, it was the Rockefeller founder. Now, I knew that over 100 years ago, the banking families propagandized through the media and said, yes, it's trust busting. We've got all these big monopolies, and so you've punished us. Our companies are now going to be broken up. But what happened was the holdings that these elite families had basically went tax exempt and went into foundations. And I'd always known that the Rockefeller family basically created the modern environmental movement. I'd always known that they basically promoted philanthropic endeavors as a way to hide their money and use the money for social control and to secure their monopoly. But I was up here Friday, and Rob Jacobson was saying, watch this documentary. I saw it on PBS about the Rockefellers, and there, lo and behold, he played me the clip. I didn't know the Rockefellers founded the term philanthropy. Oh, I'm a philanthropist. And that the Rockefellers didn't like people saying, hey, give your money to charity. Hey, you're so rich, worth billions and millions of dollars at the turn of the 20th century, over 100 years ago. And so they invented, you learn something every day, they invented philanthropy. Well, what do you see Bill and Melinda Gates doing with their $100 billion? What do you see Warren Buffett with his $80 billion? What do you see them doing? They put it in a tax-free foundation, and then only the interest on that money goes to their supposed social endeavor. And then they keep all their assets tax-free. It is a huge, unfair trade advantage, business advantage, because everybody else is having to pay taxes. And that's why you read in the memoirs of the Astors and others, even recently they'll brag, what, taxes? That's for little people. See, you pay taxes, they don't. And yes, most of what Bill and Melinda Gates spend their money on is eugenics, is population reduction. And the second biggest area that I've noticed Bill and Melinda Gates are now involved in is weather modification. And I'm sure most of you have seen that. It's been all over the news. Oh, isn't Bill Gates nice? He's invested billions of dollars in stopping hurricanes. He's invested billions of dollars in weather control. He has all these patents, and he wants a new government agency to be created to fund this. Yeah, to fund him. He'll control the Weather Bureau. The Bill and Melinda Gates Weather Control. This sunny day brought to you by Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. This is what our grandkids are going to be listening to. It turns out that in the early 60s, the U.S. government was controlling, speeding them up, making them weaker, making them stronger, killing them, directing them, steering them, hurricanes. And in 1967, the Stanford Research Institute and, of course, the Naval War Laboratory, headed up at that time by Ben Livingston, did certify that they had complete control over the weather. And so, yes, they are manipulating the weather. Now, what's manipulated and what isn't? Once they start changing the weather in one spot, that changes the weather forever, though probably in small ways. Who knows what chain reactions they could be creating. That's really the problem at the end of the day, is the globalists are all about data. They're all about controlling information. They're all about understanding systems. But to do that, they engage in massive tests, massive experiments. And we are all taking part in genetic engineering experiments, in toxic experiments, being poisoned, in weather control experiments. And Bill and Melinda Gates are developing viruses that go in and reprogram your brain, and I've been warning you about that for a decade at least, but now it's mainstream news, and you just wake up and you're not who you were before, and that's the type of enemy we face. And they've already got all this stuff. They admit they do. That's why they're so arrogant. That's why they don't care, ladies and gentlemen. And you try to talk to some steroid head cop about this information, they're just going to laugh, ladies and gentlemen. If it wasn't on American Idol, they're not going to listen. If you try to talk to your dumb neighbor, they're not going to listen. You try to talk to the average American, even though they don't like being screwed by the government and they know things are getting worse and worse, they still just don't realize how serious it is. And I love America, and I love the good people that are in this country. I mean, it's a mix. People say, well, the ugly Americans, the rude Americans overseas when they see how we behave, how we're wealthy and take it for granted, how we're into pettiness and style. And, I mean, that's really looked down upon by classy people. We are creatures of the corporate board. We're creatures of whatever the system is selling us. We dress like clowns. We're a joke. And it's easy for people that have never had it good to see that. And I'm saying I'm a joke. I mean, I'm not up here judging anybody. We are the children of decadent people who are the children of decadent people who are the children of decadent people. Now, sure, you take somebody on average born 100 years ago, they were a lot more polite, a lot harder working, a lot more honorable, statistically, historically. I'm not saying you are a bad person individually. I'm just saying on average, but it's more than just the fact that we're decadent. We're poisoned. We're chemically blunted. We're at a big giant science experiment with a bunch of control freaks that think they're God doing really bad things to everybody. And it's all real. I mean, CNN admits they put silicon in chicken McNuggets. A petrochemical that's admittedly toxic. Everything gets tested on us. That's illegal everywhere in the world. But here, the GMO crops we're fed are illegal everywhere in the world. But here, we are a joke. Okay? Now, I'll admit I'm a joke. I don't want to be a joke. I'm going to go to Gil hung up. I'm going to go to Brian, Eric, Laura. There's no Gil didn't hang up. He's just at the end of the line there. And see, that caller calls in, and he brings up such heavy subjects. I just realized my children don't have much future, and that's a really scary thing to face up to.